This time, Johnny brought me 500 construction razor blades and challenged me. Could I turn them into something that would shock everyone? So I got to work. First, I prepared a metal container where I placed the blades tightly together. Then I added steel powder on top and gradually compressed it so every empty space inside the container would be completely filled. After that, I added a little borax to help remove oxygen from inside the container during heating. Then I sealed the container with welding, but I drilled a small 3mm hole so gases could escape. I fired up my charcoal forge. I placed the container inside the forge and added more coal on top. When the container became extremely hot, I slowly started forging it. I hammered it carefully from every side, repeating the process several times. After about 1 hour, I could already feel from the hammer strikes that the material inside had fused together and turned into one solid metal mass. So now I had to remove the soft outer container steel. I let it cool down, cut the sides with an angle grinder, and peeled off the soft metal skin from the outside. Then I heated the steel again and continued forging. First, I drew it out lengthwise, then flattened it to around 5mm thick. After that, I shaped the end section with a hammer, and then forged the knife tip. I do all of this by hand. No hydraulic press. That's why this project became extremely exhausting, and by the end of the day, I could barely move my hands. The next morning, I started working at the belt grinder. First, I leveled the sides because they were very uneven and still had hammer marks. Then I moved on to refining the contours, and after that, the knife shape became clearly visible. Of course, some areas were impossible to reach with the belt grinder, so I worked there with a hand file for a while. When the knife shape was exactly how I wanted it, I moved on to the most important stage, grinding the bevels on both sides. Of course, I do this on the belt grinder. The bevels must be even and follow a clean straight line so the knife looks beautiful and works properly. After finishing the bevels, I sanded the blade from every side to 180 grit. Then I fired up the forge again and placed the blade inside. When it reached around 850 degrees Celsius, I quickly quenched it in oil. Now the steel was extremely strong and hard. Then I started sanding again. I continued from the grit where I stopped before, which was 180 grit, and finished at 2000 grit. After that, I washed the blade so there would be no oily residue on the surface and placed it into ferric chloride for several minutes. This is the most interesting moment. Look at the texture that appeared. Hundreds of razor blades and steel powder are fused and mixed together into one beautiful pattern. Then I moved on to the handle. First, I prepared the brass for the bolster. I cut a brass plate, drilled it to size, and cleaned the opening with a file. Nothing more was needed at this stage. Then I took a piece of walnut wood and drilled it to the correct size as well. Using epoxy, I glued the knife, the brass bolster, and a thin orange Textilite spacer into the wood. The next day, when the glue had fully cured, I started shaping the handle on the belt grinder. I removed the excess wood and created the main handle contours. Now it was time for hand sanding. I sanded the wood up to 320 grit and applied protective wax so the handle would not absorb moisture or get damaged in the future. Finally, I sharpened the blade up to 4000 grit, and it is truly razor sharp, and this is the final result. If you think I won this challenge again, then like this video and subscribe to the channel.